I'm not actually going to get started till about 3:02 here, so we still have a minute. Just giving people a chance to join.
I really hope I'm not the only one that came to join
You're
this tech talk.
you are not the only non-AI here.
I see them now.
I don't anticipate it's going to be super long either, but just doing an overview, this Otter.ai thing, and then answer some questions. All right, we are at 3:02. This is already recording. We'll put this up on like the YouTube afterwards. So today we were going to cover the Otter AI. This was kind of requested by, I think it was Linda initially, because there's a lot of like grant writing meetings we're in. And as you can see, I think there's four of them in here right now. Like all these robots have been joining a bunch of Zooms, and maybe you've been getting the emails of like the summary and the notes afterwards. So we're like, and OTA, myself and Robin have been two people that have been using these. So we were asked to just kind of do a profile and present them what exactly these are. The reason I started using it, I initially, it was down at Project U Plus, their executive director, Carl, had one of these join us. And afterwards, there's a bunch of settings, and I can show you guys all how to use these, but there are settings that you can set. And one of them is it'll just send a summary of the notes, like the kind of wrap up afterwards that the AI does to everyone who's invited in the meeting. Now, you could turn that off because if it's the entire listserv, like that's a lot of people you're sending this like robot notes to. But I just want to look at it. And then looking at it, you had to like create a free account. So I'm also going to kind of cover the free account versus some of the paid account differences and options. But in looking at it, I enjoyed it because not only does it transcribe, like you could see on the participant list there's a handful of people or these AIs that are in here. Not only does it just listen, all it's doing is transcribing. There it is in the chat. It plugs a bunch of AI assistant stuff, so it's just creating a transcript, and then using kind of the chat GPT similar software creates a summary of that transcript. So you can go back to a meeting and just review the summary, right? Like just a real, it's minutes in a way that most people don't actually do meeting minutes. I know at least in board meetings I've been in, like we often have a secretary, people taking minutes, but it's not as detailed as maybe ideally you would like. And I found that they did a really good job. And then when I realized that your AI can attend meetings you don't even go to, so you'll see a couple of these AI bots that are even in here with us right now, like those folks aren't actually here. So if you want somebody to go to meetings you don't want to go to, but you still want to know what happened and just read a 1 minute summary, this is a great way to do that. So that is kind of the quick, large snapshot, right? It's just a AI robot who comes in, records the transcripts, and then sends you a summary. And then I can show you some of the tools available that you can use to like ask it questions or have it kind of summarize notes based on what happened in the meetings themselves. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Now, right out the gates, there's the basic version is free. Okay. So it allows you to connect it to like your Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar, and it can join Zoom meetings, team meetings, Google Meet meetings, anything you want. The free account limits you to 300 minutes per month. And I can show you where you can go and kind of pick and choose where you want it to attend. But the free one, you can pick, the first 30 minutes. So if they're longer than 30 minutes, it doesn't work. But it can do all of that. I upgraded to the Pro. It's like $100 a month or for a year to basically have a secretary who can keep notes and send me summaries of stuff for a whole bunch of meetings. So that just increases really the number of minutes that it can track throughout the year, and it can go up to 90 minutes per conversation. And then there's also kind of this whole next level, this business version where it can be full 4 hours, 6,000 months. You can share it between folks. Like you could buy one for your whole team and everyone could be under it using the various kind of minutes too. So um, there's different versions, but this definitely strikes me as some of like the software costs. I imagine a lot of you are dealing with this, whether it's like chat gpt, like there's just, this is more software that you can buy and potentially use as a team. I justified it because to pay somebody to kind of be more or less a secretary or just attend a lot of like my staff meetings, team meetings, the meetings that I want detailed minutes or summaries or notes on would cost way more than like $100 a year. So that was how I justified just using the pro um, for myself. And I'll kind of throw this in the chat too, just so everyone has the link to here. Once you sign up for the account, this is like what a home page looks like. So what you're looking at here, these are all the previous meetings of mine that have been recorded. Over here, there's some stuff you can edit in terms of features and workspace. Like workspace could be like your team workspace. You can invite other teammates, right? And then the important element that I find to kind of pick and choose which ones you want it to go to is if you link it to your calendar, there's a calendar over here to the right that lists all of the meetings you have, and I can kind of trigger yes or no whether I want it to auto attend. So if they're meetings I'm going to be at and I don't need a transcript, I just turn them off for a lot of these. But if it's a meeting that I'm not going to make and I would love a summary, like you can just trigger them on and off across the board. Also, linked to your account, there's like this account settings tab. So it's basic profile stuff like paying for various things, but the important piece in here, because this is what they don't tell you when you sign up for the free one, it just defaults to everything be on. So this one will start default to share, so every single person who is invited to the event is going to get a summary of your notes. You can ask it to not share, just share within like your own team, right? When it joins, is it just joining as like a viewer or a collaborator? So right, you can set different stuff. And then there's all kinds of other settings. So auto join all meetings, it's all going to start with on. So that will freak you out at first. It's going to use your 300 free minutes in the blink of an eye if you just default this to on. But again, you can choose it to turn off. I think this meeting scheduled for like maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe an hour, 5 minutes left of the meeting. Kind of like if those of you joined late in the chat, there's like a whole bunch of these Otter AIs who kind of said, hey, I'm here just taking notes. You can follow the transcript here. And it gave you a link to see live transcript. At the end of it, it'll kind of resend that link that says, here's a summary of the meeting. You can like trigger that on or off if you want it to do that, right? So it does give you the control, but the default setting is everything is on, and it can feel disheartening. Like what happens is sometimes you'll be on some national call for like a COE meeting or something where there's 900 people that have been invited. And if your AI shows up and they let it in, it's going to send an email to all 900 of them with like a summary. So having control over what it joins and just not join is nice. And it's all right there, but you just have to know how to mess with that in the actual settings. For an example, so this was from one of our grant writing connection calls we did on the 9th. This was like the last one before the grant was due. So this is what it is doing within the meeting. If I go to transcript, it's just going to have a detailed transcript of everything that was said in the entire meeting. It even does some stuff at the top, giving you keywords, tells you what percent everyone was talking. That's funny. I didn't realize that was on there. But and then over here on the right-hand side, there you can like talk to the AI bot. So it gives you some like default questions, but if you put that like Otter, comma, and you can ask it questions and it will give you like specific answers. So let's say so I jumped ahead a little bit. Transcript is there, but there's also a summary. So it gives you a generic summary, handful of action items. And if you actually like use this, I can go through and like check these off, right? Like if I use this as an active part of my job or as like real meeting minutes for my team meetings every single week, you can go back in here and actually like check these and it stays, or you can manually add them if they don't quite align, or every single one of them can be edited. You can assign people if a bunch of team is in here. You can also at any given point in time click on these and view it in the transcript. Same with if you scroll down, just that quick outline of what was covered kind of gives you the overarching topics and different comments. But at any point in time, you can click and it'll just bring you to the point in the transcript and you can like read it. How does it know what to assign its action items? That's just the AI magic, right? It's just reviewing everything and it's making assumptions. So that's where you can delete or add them based on what you actually want. But it is just kind of reviewing the transcript and using that technology to assume that these are the action items. So again, not everything is always accurate. I have noticed it may not always understand what you're talking about. Like if we talk about Bloomin' a whole bunch, it has no effing clue what Bloomin' is. Like it's not going to write it correctly. It's just going to spell it wrong. It will over time probably realize it's like a software database system, so it does a decent job, but it's going to spell Bloomin' wrong or give some like wrong tag name. So there's definitely easy ways to do that. I imagine, and this is not something I spend a lot of, the whole point of this to me is to streamline a lot of your processes. But you can see that I can go in here and edit an actual transcript. So you can do a control F or a find and replace, um, you know, function to kind of replace something that is clearly spelled wrong. You can also add like attachments or images at any point in time if you want this to be like a realistic reflection of staff meeting or minutes in any given way. So this is kind of the nuts and bolts of what you're signing up for, is that every meeting has this. And you can copy this summary and kind of send it out to folks. So in the case of Robin, who's on the OTA team, we do a lot of professional development. If you don't want to watch the entire recording, like right now, we're doing a recording of this, we put these on YouTube, and you just want to read this quick summary, where like this would be an amazing tool. So afterwards, when we're sharing the recording, we can also just share this quick summary that this Otter.ai has put together to talk through it. So, um, and another interesting element is that, that was within one singular meeting in terms of using the actual AI chat to kind of ask some questions. They kind of also have that feature that applies to like everything. So basically, every single meeting that's ever been recorded under your subscription, you can ask it questions, right? Or have it go back or just say, like, oh, what is like the overlying theme in all those connection calls? Or at our weekly staff meeting, like, what have been, um, you know, just kind of use the AI to kind of ask you questions, kind of probe around and let it give you responses within a certain context of what it can realistically answer, that can give you information around kind of everything that's under your workspace or stuff that you've attended. So it's meant to just be kind of an efficient way to record meetings and go back. I like it because there are some meetings that you want to have like really formalized minutes. I know that's even just regulatory. One of the recommendations for TRIO programs is that you are having agendas, you are documenting minutes with your team. And if these are start happening more in a virtual space, this can be such an easier means to just track that and have that historically available versus somebody manually trying to enter all that information. So um, that was like a 10-ish minute kind of overview on terms of how I use it and just poking around that's on here. You can see there are like apps you can link it to. I have it connected to my Zoom and I have it connected to my like Google Calendar, but it can link in a couple of different ways. And then in terms of the conversations, um, this is not something I've used a bunch, but I think these are just like the chats that you can start. Or if your entire team is in here and you're using this not just as an individual, but as a team, you can kind of have those action items and like separate chats going on with your team related to an individual meeting until all those items are completed, right? So there's a whole bunch of like other features if you're looking to use it more as like a hub and a thing within your team itself. But again, for the most part, I like it as just that like relatively affordable kind of secretary who can go and track meetings, particularly those that I can't always be in myself. So with that, I kind of want to pause and just ask if anyone has questions.
Is it possible that OTA might consider like a paid membership for everybody? I mean, I feel like I have to ask.
Like that comes up with everything, right? Hey, can't you all just pay for this? That's a good question. Huh. So I mean, part of the challenge is they're all billed per user, right? Um, so with something like Canva, that tends to work okay because you all can kind of like share one single login for Canva, and everybody can like use that as a singular workspace. With the meetings, this would very much be by user. Um, at that point where you're looking at like a full enterprise account, which like I don't, right? Like that's 100 and something dollars a pop. It would not likely be something that's realistic. We could just pay for out of pocket, though. If I could invoice programs for like however many they want to pay for, then that could be an option where like we are on the highest tier of availability, where you get like all of the features possible, and we're all kind of under this larger Oregon Trail umbrella. But I would realistically probably still have to bill it because for the higher one, because the pro allows you like at max 5 users within the workspace. That's what we're talking about. Even the business is 25. So if people really jumped into this, it would be a max of 25 emails. So to go enterprise, I'm assuming that's in the ballpark of $200 and change per user. So that's more a question for you all if that feels worth it to you to spend that per individual to be in there. For us to do that for like 200 people, obviously that's like 40 something $1,000 we're committing. So uh, I'm hesitant to just jump in and do that right away, unless this was just like the greatest thing in the history of, project management.
Totally fair.
I'm wondering if anyone's institutions have had issues with this. Like I tried to sign up and I have to get permission from them to be able to utilize this tool. And I am making a case, but if there's any tips that other people have used, I think their concern is like, this is a tool that can reach many, right? And so that everyone's not getting notes of everything that maybe they don't want people to get notes of in some of our meetings. And so I'm just curious if anyone's had issues, who's tried to sign up or anything like that. So, and that might just be, a little more in your arsenal, Matt, for an opt-in rather than just cover it for everybody. There might be folks that can't use it.
Right. Yeah, and I don't
I'll
know
just
how.
leave that linger out there. Maybe one of these note takers will they'll get back to their
I
folks. So
I've heard of other institutions where like their IT person like, hates this or loves it, right? Where they've looked at it just institutionally to have this be like if you like exactly what we were talking about just within their community college, right? So I know it's been a thing. I don't know that this is like the only one out there that's doing this. Um, right. Like even in Zoom, there's this AI companion uh button that I can turn on and it'll summary and ask meeting questions. Like it doesn't seem dramatically different. This one's a little different because it'll like attend meetings on your behalf versus just using the AI companion tools Zoom offers. So there's certainly others out there. I don't have a good answer because I often forget that individual institutions can limit what your account is allowed to access and share. So, um, yeah.
cool. Thank you, though.
I am curious. I know there's a couple folks that are actually on the call, but sorry, you're robots. So I'm kind of curious whether it's Chris or Nadine. Like, if you guys have any comments on how you use it or how it's been helpful for you, because I've seen those popping in for a little while at least.
Yeah, I use it all the time. My meetings on campus, no issues. I met with the provost and had it on. He hadn't said anything about it, so I've been really happy with that. So I figured, well, he's good with it. So yeah, it's been very helpful for meetings that I'm, especially ones I can't make. But I'm gonna upgrade to the pro. I didn't realize it had all those features, but it's been good at Western.
I'm seeing too, like a basic one, you can only have it attend one meeting for you. Like with a pro, I can send it to like, I can be in one and my Otter can be in two separate meetings. So I can be in like three places at once as well. And like business lets you be three, like it gets to that degree too. So if you have those simultaneous, or you have like a student meeting and you're missing some committee you're on, like it can kind of put you in multiple places at once. Yeah, I don't know that I have anything too different. Just here to kind of answer questions or poke around as somebody who is using the pro version for folks if they have specifics. So, but appreciate you all at least coming in here. Like I said, if you're able to sign up for the free one and your institutional like email allows it, or you just want to do it on your own personal, like you can go into the settings and kind of turn off so it's not just going to start infiltrating your life, because it very much feels like that if you just sign up for the free one and don't go mess around with the settings. So it can be a decent way to just kind of dip your toe in and see if you like it or you even use it realistically. For me, the biggest on point is it can go to things I can't make, and just that was really helpful. And then it just stores in my history, so you may not always be able to find like the email that brings you to the recording or the minutes or agenda, but like I can just go to my Otter.ai workspace and it's every single meeting that it's ever attended, and there's just a historical document there. If you do the free one, it's only going to store your 25 most recent meetings. All the others are unlimited, so that's noteworthy too. And I guess for everyone joining late, this is kind of the pricing and a breakdown of all the different features at the different tiers that where I'm seeing a lot of this information. Cool. All right, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes for anyone who wants to has any questions, but thanks as always for popping in. Let me know if there's any other crap or software AI you want us to present on. This is kind of what we're here to do.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Talk to you later,
Yep.
buddy.
See ya.